work from cheap so far, that you could touch a star with me. They shine like diamonds in the sky. Hold my hand and close your eyes and you'll know.
Hi, my name is Amelie, and that was my first poem. Written when I was 7 in messy handwriting on scrap paper with my aunt at a restaurant. Written for someone very special. My sister. We're a lot closer now than we used to be, but even back then she inspired me and led me down the path that is poetry. In my early years of learning to read and write, I actually despised it. But my mum decided it was one of the most important skills, so like many other kids, I was sent to writing lessons. And being the competitive child I was, when I earned my pen license, a little blue card in English primary school that meant you were now good enough to write in pen, I made it my entire personality. I flaunted it around like a badge of honor, so yes, it did take me a license to write a book, but we'll get to that later. At first, I wrote short stories, kind of like Beatrix Potter or Julia Donaldson, until one day, just before I turned 9, I reread them and thought, these are terrible. So like any stubborn kid, if I wasn't immediately good at it, I quit. And that's when I rediscovered poetry. I was sitting on the floor of my dad's office, listening to his typing, when he asked how my writing was going. I said something like, I'm not any good, it's rather stupid. He didn't comfort me, he didn't scold me, he just asked, have you tried poetry? I hadn't even heard of it before. He gave me a piece of paper, he said, write a paragraph, rhyme occasionally, and whatever you do, it can only be 1 page. Obviously not the most technical definition, but it worked. So I wrote my second poem. My dad's weird with his big fat beard. It was honestly written out of spite, but it was enough to get the ball rolling, and from then on, I felt like I found my thing. I joined poetry groups, and while I felt amateur and inexperienced compared to the older kids, I learnt so much. I have so many memories from that class. Perhaps the most memorable bit was that there was an older girl, also called Amelie. She was telling me about the book she was writing at the time. She was 16 and I was 11. I wanted to be just like her. So I started doing more things to do with writing. I went to book festivals where I heard the likes of David Walliams speak. I entered writing competitions and even performed a few times, with my biggest audience being around 200 people at the age of 9. I was completely submerged in the world of words in as many ways as I could. But somewhere along the way, that confidence faded. I was never bullied, but I was definitely teased at points. When I moved from the UK to New Zealand, that fear of sharing deepened. It became, I can't show anyone any of my work. I learned early on that when there's anything different about you, it's not necessarily bad, but it means that people can't always understand you. Whenever I mention poetry, I get the same smirks and the same comments, so I stopped trying and I stopped sharing, sometimes even with the people closest to me. For 10 months, I didn't write anything. November 2019 to September 2020. So while you all were discovering new hobbies, I was losing an old one. I'll give you a minute to take this one in. So, you guys were creating new hobbies, but I was losing an old one. It was a hard time for me, with no outlet for my emotions. For years, it's felt like I've been carrying this burden that's influenced my friendships, something always in the back of my head, something I despised for so long. I thought it was weird, embarrassing, and frankly, I've spent weeks trying to form this part of the speech, because for once the words aren't flowing. When something is so ingrained in your life, it's hard to explain it to others. And for so long I didn't. Maybe that's partially why I'm struggling with this now. I've learned a lot through this process though. Okay, you didn't see that. And I've learnt a lot during my time at Greenstone, to say the least. Not to sit behind a classroom divider, how to drive a car, how to parallel park badly, not to vandalize school tables with inspirational messages, not to jump on slippy rocks on Compass Hill, you will break your ankle, not to have a go at Matua Damien on Duke of Ed. It's never his fault. And not to say microorganisms wrong in my quest speech. But mainly, I've learned if you want to tell someone something, if you need to say something, you shouldn't leave it unsaid. You shouldn't keep things in for the sake of keeping everyone happy or not tell someone how you feel. There is nothing that shows greater strength than saying what you want to say, no matter the embarrassment. We are also caught up, or at least people my age are, in what I call cringe culture, or the nonchalant epidemic. People are scared to be seen as themselves. We all are in ways. When that's holding people back from letting them know the real you. We all see so many inspirational quotes on the daily. Just do it, you only live once, but do we ever truly take it in? So, I wrote a book. Okay. It feels odd to say out loud, I must admit. It all started with a scrap piece of paper, and 8 notebooks later, here I am, writing and finally sharing my poetry book. And honestly, that's something I thought I'd never be able to do. It's terrifying. For a while, I didn't even share my writing with my closest friends or family, let alone anyone who picks up the book. Because writing poetry feels like leaving your heart on a page and hoping people don't step on it. But it's also freeing. It's taking all the messy, complicated feelings and giving them a home, and freeing myself from them. You see, all the things I left unsaid isn't just a title, it's a reflection of my life and what I've learned. For years, I kept quiet about my feelings and my thoughts because I was scared of what people may think. I release that now. With you all as my witness, I choose to no longer carry that weight, belief. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that writing was never about being perfect or impressive. It was about being real, and that is what I've been trying to teach the junior school. Throughout term 2, I ran lunchtime poetry workshops and classes with our junior school. I didn't expect the amount of numbers that piled through the door with lunchboxes in hand. I was touched by the work your children ended up producing, truly. We started things off simple. Of course, I had an "Oh Captain, my Captain" moment, explaining that poetry is present in all areas of life, in art, music, and stories. That it can break rules, rhyming isn't always necessary, and it links to emotions. We explored many subjects. Well, anyway, here's a look into our class. Running poetry classes showed me that creativity can connect people. It's a common theme throughout all our Greenstones. In the most unexpected ways, seeing those kids write about their families, their dreams, and their fears. Breaking the writing rules reminded me why I started, and if even one of them continues writing, then I did what I set out to do. A big part of my Greenstone journey was doing something that involved other people. So after weeks of planning, I hosted a parent poetry night. The parent poetry night was one of the highlights of this whole journey. Watching fully grown adults engaging in similar activities to that of our primary school was so wholesome. Crouched over magazines with markers in hand, carefully blocking out words until something honest and unexpected appeared. It was incredible, seeing those who hadn't written creatively in years pick up a pen. Then we moved into the unsent email activity, where everyone wrote a message to someone they never had the courage, opportunity, or language to speak it to. The room fell quiet in a way that you know everyone is writing something that matters. Then came the book process. 8 notebooks turned into pages, then drafts, then Google Docs that seemed to multiply overnight. It took me 34 drafts to reach a publishable piece. I spent late nights, warm Sundays, study blocks to contribute to this piece of work. But in essence, it was all already there. I have been slowly contributing to this book throughout my whole time at Green School. It wasn't a question of whether I would, but a question of when I would decide to do this book. Originally, many years ago, when I first heard about the Greenstone project, I considered doing this for it. However, the younger me could not fathom the idea of sharing something so personal at school. As many other Greenstoners today, I flitted between ideas. At first, I considered doing a version of the International Food Festival, a fashion magazine, or a magazine on people's stories at Green School. I soon realised, was I really bothered to do more work than share my poetry? So I took the easy route. But this project has been far from easy. It's been a lot more work than I actually thought it would be. I had to type all the poems up, find an illustrator, an editor, and check it a million times before publishing. I had 4 people look over it before it was on Amazon. I didn't have the poetry book uploaded till 12 days ago. Many of my teachers know I leave things last minute, like midnight last minute. I know Matwa Ian can agree, but this was a push for even me. With an 8 to 10 day delivery, I was really cutting it close, and it still isn't on my doorstep. But I do ask, if you want one, please do fill out the pre-order sheet. That's when Dave, the book's editor, came in, who volunteered his editing expertise and honestly saved my spelling. I'd wake up most mornings with 60 new comments and corrections. It's crazy how many spelling mistakes you can make without realizing. I had no idea how many times I missed capital letters until someone with an expert eye like Dave pointed them all out. If it wasn't for him, at least half the titles wouldn't have capitals, and maybe 1 or 2 would be missing punctuation entirely. So Dave, thank you for the commas, the capitals, and the countless hours you helped me. And then there's Katie, who somehow sees inside your head. You explain an idea, and before you've even finished, she's already designing it. Over coffee and a dozen creative tangents, she somehow saw inside my head. The cover, the colours, the feeling, she turned my words into something visual. Working with her was one of the most rewarding parts of this journey because I saw it coming to life. The scariest part was opening up that package. I'm not going to lie, because this is Greenstone. I truly shed a tear when I first saw that cover. It was exhilarating and validating. A lot of the time when you're working on such a long project, you're so set on achieving these tiny goals within the big goal that you forget about it entirely. Seeing the cover for the first time made this project, everything I've told you today, feel real. So I'm proud to say, hi, my name is Amelie, and this is my poetry book. I've always wanted to be an author, and now I am. 8-year-old me would be so pleased if I could go back and tell her, but I have a feeling she already knew. And while I didn't get a pet unicorn, this may be the closest thing. While those two helped me immensely, they weren't the only ones. I want to say a huge thank you to my parents and my sister, my teachers, especially Fire, Sarah, and Matuasau, for their constant support with this project. To Trace Weaver and Lynn Buxton for their support with my speech, and for everyone else who inspired me in the writing process. To quote from Dead Poets Society, medicine, law, banking, these are necessary to sustain life. But poetry, romance, love, beauty, these are what we stay alive for. I quote from Whitman, "Oh me, oh life, of the questions of these recurring, of the endless trains filled with the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish, what good amid these? Oh me, oh life. Answer that you are here, that life exists and identity, that the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. If there's one thing you take away from my Greenstone, let it be this. It's never too late to say all the things you left unsaid." Thank you.